ahead and get started because you did show up on time and I appreciate that. So good morning. I am Kandyce Ellis and I am going to be your teacher today for Business Planning 2021. Can everybody see my slides? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my slides. Yay. Pam, is that a no? You can't see my slide? Okay, just making sure, just making sure. So if you've never had a class with me, the first thing you should know is that I'm not one for formalities. I'm just the same as you. I just happen to teach some stuff and you happen to sell people houses every day, all day. So please, if you have a question, a comment, concern, something like that, ask it. It's about conversations. I do not want this to be I sit here and talk at you for the next hour and a half. This is going to be a hands-on business planning session. So we'll talk about some things. I'll go over about all that, but any immediate questions that anybody, questions, concerns, thoughts that I should address from the beginning?
Quick question for Sonia. Sorry, I forgot to ask earlier. Are we recording this or can we record this session?
Okay. She is.
It is being recorded.
Okay, thank you.
And for a small $1 million fee, I'll sign that release form. No, of course I'll sign the release form. All right, so let me click here. Yay. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk about what's a business plan, what's not a business plan, because we're a business planning clinic, and then we're going to actually do a business plan. This is a very simple, straightforward class. Our goal, my goal is when you leave here, you will have started on the beginnings of a business plan. So having said that, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is right now COVID. There is a great conversation to be had about how COVID has changed how we do business. COVID has changed how we live. There's everything there. I could do a whole class about how do you change your lead prospecting, your lead generation on COVID. That is not today's class. Not that I don't want to hear your thoughts on that. It's just today we won't be discussing this. So this is just a page that I found someplace, ripped it out. And really what I want to focus on is now that we are re-entering and making this our everyday realistic world, then that means as business owners, small business owners, you're going to have to reimagine what you want this to look like for yourselves. Right? And once you've done that, that will be part of your business plan, figuring out what this looks like, what's your new normal now, and then you got to figure out a way to implement this. Implement the changes that you have to make for COVID. And after that, you should find yourself flourishing as long as, we don't get like a COVID 2021, 22. I saw the other day, they've come up with some pig COVID. I don't know, but I just wanted to address it now. Not that you can't make comments about it or how does it do it. I just wanted to make sure we all understand this isn't the class for that. That's not what we're necessarily going to be discussing. COVID is a thing. It should affect your business plan. And I've had people that I've been coaching where they're filling out 2 different business plans. One, if we get back to the normal, or not that we'll go ever back to the regular normal, but they'll have the, if I get to do things in person, if I don't get to do things in person, that's okay. That is okay if that's what you want to do. All right? Because COVID has definitely affected all of us. So I want to start you out with a quote. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I know you've heard that. I know you've heard that before. I'm hoping you've heard that before. And that means before I can talk to you about business plans, I want to address the fact that I've run into a lot of people, not you all, I'm sure, because you're here, that don't have any desire to really do and set out a business plan. It's what you avoid doing. It's kind of like your taxes. Nobody wakes up on January 1st and like, I'm so excited to do last year's taxes. So any class I teach that we're going to be doing things like this, I want you to give yourself permission. I'm giving you the ability to give yourself permission to do a lot of things. So I'm giving you the permission. I want you to give yourself the permission to do what works best for you. I'm going to be showing you one method of doing a business plan. We're going to be starting that. If that's not what you find works best for you, take what it is and you run with it. You're allowed to make mistakes. You all are small business owners. So what works for Bill may not work for Sandra. They may have to Mike might have to make changes off of that. Give yourself permission to explore. And the big one is give yourself the permission to dislike certain aspects of your job. And we're going to be doing a lot of numbers today. And if you don't like numbers, that's okay. You don't have to love numbers in order to get the job done. It's okay to not like the fact that we're looking at numbers. Give yourself permission. So what I'm going to do is in the chat, I'm going to give you all a download. Right? In our chat box, you're going to see come up a download, and it's going to include nothing that you need to print out today. Just you'll have access to all these files that we're looking at. I'll have everything on the screen for you. So let me get there. I had it popped up before, but it has disappeared on me. There you go. Does everybody see that? So if you want to go ahead and just click on that and download it. And once you have pressed download and you have access to it, just give me a thumbs up so I know. Now I should have started with, and it's kind of one of those things at this point, is this anybody's first time using Zoom and you're not quite sure how to download this? You're not quite sure how to unmute yourself? This is pretty much the new normal, so, but it's okay if you don't. Please ask me. Never be afraid to ask me a question.
Kandyce,
Yes, sir. Hey, Martin.
can you tell me how to download it?
Yes. So do you have your chat box open?
I do now. Oh, there it is.
There
Gotcha.
you go.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. So you will see in your downloads, and I will make it so that you can take a look at my screen as well. You're going to see a couple of things. You're going to see this permission slip. This is something I give when I'm coaching, sometimes people are just like, I don't know if I can. If it helps you, if you want to fill it out, you can, but the message is the same. It's okay. This is your business. You're going to have to suck it up, pull on your big girl pants, big boy pants, and sometimes just do what you need to do. But it's also okay to give yourself permission to grow your business, to dream about what you want to have a life outside of real estate. It is okay. And if what you needed to do was hear that from me this morning, then I'm glad I can. I'm glad I can provide that. You'll see the next forms that we'll come to as we go, and they're in order. There's just 4 of them, but you should all have access. Everybody can see the permission slip. You've downloaded it. You've got it. Yes. Perfect. All right, let's go back to our slides. So once you know you're ready to start working on a business plan, we got to talk about what a business plan is. So I would love to hear from you. What do you think a business plan is? I mean, you're in a business planning clinic. What's a business plan?
In my mind, it's like creating a roadmap for yourself and having, giving yourself direction instead of just winging it every day.
I love that answer. Thank you. Anybody else?
Unmute. I think it's looking back at both your past accomplishments and failures and what what's happened the past year, and then planning for the future, both short-term and long-term goals.
Oh, I love that answer. That's excellent. Thank you. Anybody else want to give me your version of this business plan? Because remember, it's your version for your business. Nobody else? We're going to be quiet group this morning. It's okay. I've got enough energy for all of us. Here's one of the official definitions. A document setting out a business's future goals, its objectives, and strategies for achieving them. Document setting out a business's future goals, objectives, and strategies for achieving them. As small business owners, you have two options. You can either run the business yourself, or you can hire somebody to take care of the problems of running a business. Has anybody in here ever read the book, The E-Myth?
I've got it, but I've not read it.
Oh, you got to read this book. If there are not going to say there's very few books that I'm like, okay, everybody needs to read, but The E-Myth, and I'm saying E like the letter E, a dash like email, and E-Myth, M-Y-T-H. And at this point, you should have the E-Myth revisited because it's been updated over the last 10, 20 years. There's also one that's called the E-Myth for real estate agents, the E-Myth for real estate firms. I haven't read those two because the message basically is the same thing. And it's the fact that you all are entrepreneurs, blah, blah, blah. I was going to say entrepreneurial at the same time, but being somebody who runs their own business, it's obviously you're good at helping people buy and sell houses, but that's not what running a business is. That's the doing of your business. Half of the battle when you're trying to run your own business is, making sure the numbers are right, making sure you have E&O insurance, making sure you have a BIC, all of those things. And coming up with a business plan is part of that running the business side. That's not as much fun as helping somebody, well, I'm going to say fun loosely, helping somebody look at 14 different houses before they find one, or helping a seller sell that house at the price they need so they can move on. A business plan is talking about that business aspect. What do I need to sustain this job? What do I need to make sure that this time next year, I've made enough, I've hit my financial goals, I'm not going backwards? Does that make sense? So it's a plan for our future. And it isn't just, numbers. You'll see here that a good business plan is going to be made up of three things. A good business plan is going to have goals. It's going to have objectives. And then it's going to have the plan part of a business plan. Goals, objectives, and the plan part of a business plan. And it may seem like goals and objectives are the same thing, but I promise you they are not, right? A goal is a description of a destination. When somebody says, what are your goals? Your goals are, where are you trying to be? This is kind of like, you ever get hungry and somebody asks you, what do you want to eat? And you're like, what do you want to eat? That can't be your business. That's just, if you're going to have a business plan, you got to know where you want this plan to get you. Now, there are different classes I teach or sessions I have, and one of the best tools I've ever seen for laying out your goals is something called a 411. Now, I'll be honest, I blatantly stole this version from the Chicago Association of Realtors. Let's give credit where credit is due. They have already come up with this, and this is part of your PDF packet. And what a 411 does is it sits down, and you're going to sit down and do this, and you go, all right, well, what are my annual goals? And if I want to make an annual goal, how do I get to, what does that mean my monthly goals need to be? And then I'm going to also have weekly goals. It's a way to just sit down and address what's going on in your life to figure it out. So when we talk about a business plan, you don't have to just start and make something this big formal, thing. It could be, the first page could be, I know what my goals are for my business. I like this version of it because it talks about your job. It talks about personal and business and finance and all of these things. So the first part of your business plan is make sure you know where you're going. That goal is the destination. That business plan's trying to get you there. Your objectives are how you figure out, are you going to meet this goal? So there's a different tool called a 1-3-5. And the 1-3-5 is taking your one main goal. So you're going to do this for each kind of large goal you have. And then you figure out, okay, well, I know what my goal is. How exactly do I get there? You should have 3 strategies for that goal. So if my goal is to get all of my Christmas shopping done before December 24th, okay, well, how can I do this? I'm going to need to have some money. I'm going to need to figure out who I'm buying for. Like, does everybody see what I'm saying? So you need to figure out your strategies to make this happen. And then you need to have 5 tactics to get to that strategy. So that means I would have to say, all right, between now and December, I need to save X amount. When you're looking at a good business plan, you've got these goals, and now a good business plan is going to set out the strategies for getting to each goal. Again, I didn't write this one. I have my own versions. I stole this one from Boomtown. Thanks, Boomtown. It's amazing what you can find on the internet for free. Use it. If somebody has said, hey, we provided this for you for free, do it, take it, steal it, make it your own. There's nothing wrong with it. As somebody who provides things, if I put it on the internet for free, I want you to have it. I want you to use it. I want you to give yourself permission to carve out a little time to figure out what your business plan looks like. So at the very least, when you leave here today, yes, we will have started working on your business plan, but I didn't want to leave you without the next step in your business plan. What we're going to be talking about today are the numbers, but at some point, if you really want to put your business plan together, I want you to have the tools to figure out your goals and figure out your objectives. I feel passionately about this, so I'll make sure you all have my contact information. If you have questions about a 1-3-5 or 4-1-1 and how do I do this, reach out to me and I'd be glad to answer that. And so the last part of our business plan is going to be the plan part. You got your goals, you got your objectives, and then you got the plan. I don't know if any of you have ever Googled business plans, and worse yet, real estate business plans. You get anything from a 1-page simple business plan to the Zillow business plan. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a huge fan of Zillow. And when people in my everyday life are like, I did a Zestimate, I too am like, please stop that. Please stop Zillowing. I need you to know that doesn't count. But if you look at the Zillow business plan, they're like, oh, we've provided a way for you to have a business plan. It's 25 sections. Who do they think, what agent do they think has time to put together a 25-section business plan? That is overwhelming. Which is why where you all and where we're going to start today is just with the numbers. So the very last page that you're going to see in your PDF looks like this. So whatever you're looking at that PDF on your screen, just take a look. I don't care if I know you didn't print it out because I didn't give it to you early, because I don't want you to feel like you have to use the boxes that are right here. So I'm going to give everybody about a minute. Pull together a piece of paper, a pen, and a calculator. Because that's what today is about. Piece of paper, pen, and a calculator. We are about to get into the trenches with your numbers. All right, I'm happy people are grabbing stuff. A calculator could be as simple as your, your iPhone. I'm not going to say Android because you should have an iPhone. At my desk, keep a calculator. But you're going to need a calculator. You're going to need a piece of paper, some ink, pencil, something. So before we dig down into the numbers, I just want to confirm, does everybody understand what it is? Was that helpful to see where these numbers are going to fit into your overall idea of a business plan? Any questions about it or thoughts? I want your thoughts. This is not the Kandyce is Right show. This is, I'm here to help you. What can I answer as far as putting this together that I didn't yet?
Kandyce.
Yes. Hi, Brad. Good morning.
Hi. I started the meeting on my phone, and then when I switched over to my laptop, I guess on the chat box you'd given us a link.
Yeah, I can post that in again.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you for bringing that up because I did the same thing and I can't find it on the link.
Not a problem. I will also have this so that it'll be emailed to you as well. Brad, did that pop up for you when you see it?
Hold on. Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over on my screen to the PDF version. So you'll see this is the file I sent you. You've got your permission slip. That's a whole different conversation. You've got your annual 411. You've got your 135. Remember, I blatantly and shamelessly stole that from the Chicago Realtors and Boomtown. Thank you to them. Just want to call that out one more time. Please don't give me credit for that. And then you have this sheet. So everybody can see this. Again, you didn't need to print it. We're going to do it together. Everybody has, let me see, everybody hold your pen up in the air. If I can see you, hold your pencil up in the air. I want to see it. Not that I don't trust you, but you're students. Hey, Brad. Okay, Mark's like, I got a thumb. Mark's can't see me, but he got a thumb. All right. Everybody's got a piece of paper, and let's see that calculator. Look at us looking like business people. I love it. All right. One more time. Questions before do we see where this, let me say this very clearly. If you have a friend that's got an MBA or this is what they do, they're a business person, and you say, oh, I went to a business planning clinic this morning, or we had a seminar on this, and you just show them this one piece of paper that we're working on, they're going to lose their mind and be like, this is not a business plan, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? This is not their business. This is one part of doing a business plan. Sandra, are you laughing at me? It's okay. You have my permission to tell them to back off. All right. This is where we're going to get started. If you don't do anything else as far as building a business plan, this is better than nothing. What I don't want you to do is just live kind of like, oh, I don't know where I am for the year. This is how we start. When you're trying to figure out, well, how much should I put towards marketing and lead gen? You need to know your numbers. You need to know, well, what am I trying to accomplish? If you're trying to decide, what do I have to do to hire an admin? Do I have the ability to bring on another team member? It all starts with your numbers. And real estate is a business that is different from every other business. So again, I'm big on giving permission. If you get somebody who's like, that's not how you do a business plan, we'll tell them you don't pay my bills. And so this is how I'm going to do my business plan. We're all good on that one? All right, so the first thing that we're going to start with is your net. Right? And net, if you remember gross and net, net is how much do you want to net in 2021? And if you're getting ready to write down $100,000, stop it. That is the answer when I get brand new agents sitting in my office and they're like, I want to make $100,000 this year. That's great. So does the rest of the world. If you just came up with $100,000 off the top of your head, stop it. Now, you may go through and do this sheet later in a more realistic number, but I want you to think, what's the net you need to bring home if you want to continue to live your lifestyle? And it's okay if your lifestyle is, I want to get my nails done every week. If your lifestyle is, look, I just don't want to eat bologna sandwiches every week. It can just about you. What's that real number that you would like to net? For some people, it could be, look, I'm just trying to bring home 60. And not that 60 is not a lot of money. Other people are like, no, my true goal is to bring home 200,000. If Charlotte says, hey, I'm trying to bring home 200,000, this is not a competition, that's her business. Pam might be like, and she's like, yeah. Pam like, look, I'm just kind of doing this. I'm not trying to be the next mega team, mega agent person. So, I mean, it all depends. What do you want? So again, $100,000 could be your answer, but please make sure it's your real answer and not the, oh, well, $100,000 sounds nice. Because I'm not sure if you all have seen, $100,000 doesn't seem to get you as far as it used to. Have you seen home prices in the triangle? All right. Now, the next step I have here is cost of sales. Your cost of sales. Now, I know you all are small business owners. I know that you don't belong to a franchise or anything like that, but I left it here because if you have team members, anybody in here have team members, people underneath you? If you do, I wanted to give you a sheet where they could account for this. It's great that we're doing our numbers, but perhaps part of having a team is you sit down with them and you help them with their numbers. So you would want to address it. You all aren't paying any franchise fees, but excuse me, I know Sam personally, so I can say, I know she has people underneath her. Hey, when she sits down to do this with somebody else, they would have a cost of sales. They would be working in their franchise fees. Because a good business plan, it's great that you know where your numbers are, but if you've got people underneath you, those people are going to need to know their numbers too, because their success is your success. Now, again, I don't know your individual businesses, so maybe you do pay something out to somebody. I don't know. But the next thing I want you to put in are going to be your expenses. Now, when I say expenses, you tell me, what are some of the things we pay? What are some of the things you pay in order just to run your business as small business owners? What do you pay? What are some of the expenses that you might have to think about?
To get a listing ready, we have to pay for the marketing of it. So we might have to pay for measuring the house, for photography, for videography, for marketing pieces that go inside the house.
That is true. And that would be per listing or per transaction. What about doing business just to be a realtor? What are some of those kind of fees that we have to pay?
You've got all your licensing fees, your National Association of Realtors, Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors.
So let's do a running total. And I'm going to do this here on the side just to help us give an idea. Again, this is initial. We have an hour and a half today. So if I had more time, we could dig deep into the trenches, but let's just go with a somewhat realistic number. I'll keep a tally over here. So you said, and thank you for that, Colleen, you said it costs money to be a realtor.
Yep.
Go figure. And it's actually what money well spent. If we had to average, what would you say we're paying per year for that?
I want to guess 2,000, but someone else might have a better number. I don't keep track of it that well.
All right. So our
2,000
annual
is a good
dues,
guess.
our annual dues are about $500 a year. Yes. And then you're going to have MLS fees.
150 a quarter, maybe.
So 150 a quarter is how much a year?
600.
Very good. So let's stop right there. And this is what I tell people in pre-licensing. If you don't like to math, don't be afraid to ask me about it. So we said 150 a quarter, and Colleen just said, hey, that's $600 a year. Please be honest, and nobody's going to judge you. Does everybody know how we came up with that $600? Because if math is not your thing, you might be like, I don't want to say anything, but I guarantee you at some point, everybody in this room has been like, oh, wait, let me remember. Am I trying to multiply or divide or something? So we took the 150 and we multiplied it times 4 because there's 4 quarters. But I want to be sure that everybody is comfortable and making sure they understand what we're looking up is what we're trying to come together with are the numbers for the year. And 150 a quarter, that's 154 times, that's $600. We're good on that? Give me some thumbs up to make sure I haven't missed anybody mathematically. It's been a while since some of y'all have been in pre-licensing. All right, what other kind of fees do you pay for because you are a small business owner?
So if we're a broker in charge, we pay for E&O insurance, which might be
Perfect.
$800.
$800 for E&O insurance? Sure, let's use that number. Now, I'm saying $800 because that's the number Colleen threw out. You all know what your own numbers are. Fill that number in if you know it. If you don't, use the $800 and you can come back later and redo this if you want to sit down, pull out your old invoices and figure it out. But we're just kind of doing an initial one right now. Any other fees that you pay because you have your own business?
Some might pay office fees or, desk
Rent?
fees. Yeah.
Rent? How much are you paying in rent per year?
You got website, CRM, DocuSign,
Yep.
QuickBooks.
Yeah, but Pam, you were just like, let's just list it all off. So I'm going to go with, and let's go ahead. I'm going to type in here. Let's pretend that what I would like to do you're going to act stupid here for me. Not you. I'll add text. Helps if I press the right button. I'm going to say that my goal is going to be, why not? I'm going to use the number you're not allowed to use, $100,000. Boom. Okay. And I'm going to say that my expenses, if we go with what we just talked about, we said $500 for being a realtor, $600 for MLS fees, $800 for E&O insurance. Maybe I'm paying for like a co-working space. And if I'm paying that for $1,000 a month, that would make my rent $12,000. Everybody see where I'm coming up with that? Yes. So I'm going to add another. So far I'm at $1,900. I'm going to add another $12,000. And just to make life easy, I'm going to do another $5,000 in miscellaneous. So I'm coming up with a total of $18,900. That is what it cost me to run my business. That is my annual operating expenses. Any questions on what I'm considering annual operating expenses? Should I take silence to be a yes? Is that a-
No
is it-
question.
I was like, it's early. I know it's early and I'm asking y'all to do numbers. I just want to make sure I haven't lost anybody.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the reason you're not including like the marketing of the house, that's going to be under marketing, under a different category, correct?
So it would be how to say this is an initial one. When we talk about marketing of the house and things like that, I would go back and I would add it once you know how many houses. We're going to figure out how many houses you need to list a year. And I would go back after I do this and add it back in later. Does that make sense, Colleen?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because there's a difference between if, let's say you are mostly a listing business, but let's say Brad mostly works with buyers. That is going to be a big difference on your operating expenses. So I tend to go ahead, let people do this the first time. Once you know what your listings, how many listings you need, that is a different conversation when you're talking about your marketing plan, your business strategy on what sets you apart from everybody else. Because if you're that person doing high-end listings and you're doing real, like actual virtual tours and not just taking your iPhone, to do things, you're paying for the twilight pictures, that is a different expense that you can figure out. Well, if I need to do 20 listings a year and I know it's going to cost me X amount per listing, you can go back and add that into your expenses. Does that concept make sense to everybody how I'm saying that? Yes? Good.
Candace, how about the car, gas, insurance?
So you can add that in. If you know what those expenses are, feel free to add them in.
Okay.
What I say is for this, Mark, if you know it, that's great. If you don't, leave it alone for right now and you can always come back. This is not going to be y'all's end all be all time that you do this. You're probably going to want to do this a couple times a year just to make sure everything is where it's going, and add anything. If you think of something, come back to it. So in a perfect world, Mark, I would hope, like, let's say you knew somebody who wanted to be here but couldn't, or you have a team member, lead them through this and add and subtract as you need.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question. All right, so then you got taxes. I'm gonna go with 30%. Now, if you all have a wonderful tax person who's like, sure, you can write that off. Let's just hope that you don't have to get caught. Then that's between you and your tax person, but we're gonna try to go with 30%, right? So what I want you to do in order to do this math is take your net income. Remember, net is what you're bringing home. Take your net income and divide it by 70%. There is a percent button on your calculator, because what you're saying is if I want to bring home $100,000, that isn't 100% of what I need. It's only 70% of what I need. Does that make sense? So I would be literally taking $100,000 and dividing it by 70%. So when I do that, now I have a number here on my calculator with some zeros. With like 3 numbers going out. I'm just going to round. This is not me turning in taxes to the IRS. So I'm okay with that. I came up with 142,857. I'll go ahead and do 142,857. I'm just going to leave my change off. I give you permission to round. Now I may not want to round it to 200,000, but I could decide to round it to 143, whatever it is, but I'm going to go ahead and type in. Sorry, should I say this? I came up with 142,857. I need to subtract out the $100,000. Helps if I do that step. If I want to be able to pay my taxes, I need to bring in $142,000 so that that $42,000 can go towards taxes. Does that make sense to everybody? Helps if I finish the last step. And you'll see here, I've laid out how to do it. I took my net income, I divided it by 70. I said, okay, if I want to take home $100,000, that's 70% of what I need, which means 142 is what I need to bring in. And if I subtract out that $100,000, $42,857 is my taxes amount. I would be paying, if you're paying 30% taxes, you'd be paying to the IRS $42,857. And that's what I'm typing in. How does that feel? I mean, not how does $42,000 to the IRS feel? That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking about the math. And if I'm going, I can go faster, I can go slower. It just depends. Every group has a different level of math. So I'm always going to assume a lower level. And if you're like, look, Candace, speed it up, we got that part. Just let me know. But does everybody have a tax amount and everybody just got a little bit sick to their stomach?
Mhm.
Right. Okay. All right. So what we're going to come up with is your gross commission income. This is the total of what you're going to need to bring in for commissions. And I need you to add up those three numbers. So if I was doing this worksheet, I would be adding up, okay, what I need to bring home in commissions next year. I need to bring home $100,000 because I like to shop. I know it's going to cost me $18,900 just to run my business in order to bring home that $100,000. And I know I need to bring home $42,000 because I got to pay the tax man. Otherwise, I'll be sitting in federal prison and nobody looks good in federal prison orange. So when I add all three of those numbers together, I'm looking at bringing in $204,614 on my numbers here. And I'm going to give you all a moment to do your own calculations. Okay, whoever's got the bird in the background, I'm loving it. Usually I'd be like, what is that background noise? But that bird in the background is just adding a little something. I'm like, this is great. We're in nature.
That must be mine. 'Cause I'm
Okay, look,
sitting outside.
I'm not mad at it. I'm like, this is, we got a little soundtrack going. It's peaceful, you know. So give me a thumbs up if you have a number. I got, okay, so Sam's got a thumb, Bill's got a thumb, Brad's got a thumb, Pam, I've got a thumb, we got Mike. Okay, how many of you all already knew that number? Okay, well, then I'm glad we're doing this today. Anybody surprised by this number? All right, Pam, talk to me about it. Why does that number surprise you? Because it's higher, because it's lower than you thought, because it sounds like a lot? Like talk to me. Pam? Yay? No? She's not on time? Okay. That's okay. I would say this number when I do.
Candace.
I'm sorry, what?
I said I'll say something.
Okay, go for it.
I think it's hard. So when we got to the taxes part, it was kind of hard for me to wrap my head around it initially because my first thought is, okay, what is all this math? Because I just need to take my number and multiply it by 0.3 to get my tax amount. But you have to like think a little more critically about the fact that if I actually want to take home $100,000, I've got to make way more than that to put $100K in my pocket. So I think it's a weird exercise, but it puts it in perspective and kind of it makes your number that you have to actually making GCI much larger and maybe scarier for a lot of us.
I'm going to
Mhm.
show you all, if my computer wants to act right. I'm going to connect my iPad so that you all can see the math. Remember I said I was adding up numbers? When I'm doing math and I'm doing it online, I tend to use my iPad to share my screen. So I just want to go through that idea because I want you to know why I'm coming up with this. This is why I wrote it down. In that sheet, you'll see I gave you what to do, but I want you to know the whys as to why you're doing it. I mean, you should trust me because I'm beautiful, but also because what I'm saying makes mathematical sense. And what this is the same thing as the net to seller. Do you all remember? I know I'm asking you all a lot, but if we were saying, hey, I want to sell my house and I want to take home $200,000 to figure out your commission. If I want to net $200,000, you don't say, oh, there's an 8% commission. And then you say, okay, well, then you add that 8% commission in. You all realize that's not the way to do it, correct? And that is because, and you see where I did my 18.9 there. When you're doing a net to seller, this is what the seller needs to bring home. That's 100. Well, let's see, that's what the seller needs to sell it for is what I should really say. And that number needs to be 200,000 to bring home. Plus there needs to be an 8% commission.
Thank
If
you.
you find, hey, you know what? Why does nobody think high? People are like 6%. I'm like, I'm thinking big. I think the number 8%. Why not 12%? I'm not saying that we should set, I'm not trying to go to jail for, for antitrust violation, but I'm thinking positive. I think every single one of you has the ability to charge 8% if you would like, right? But you don't want to find what 8% is of 200,000. You want to get 8% of the total. So that $200,000 is 92% of what that seller needs to sell it for. So that was just a review. Hopefully you're doing this correctly when you do your listings. And that same thing applies to your taxes. If I am saying, okay, I want to bring home $100,000 net, then that number, and I've got to pay 30% to taxes, this number is 70% of what I need. So I'm saying $100,000 is 70% of some unknown number, which means I'm taking $100,000 and I'm dividing it by 70%. If some of you all took this course and you used a T-bar, $100,000, 70% is of, this was your part, this was your whole, this was your rate. I T-bar everything, not because I don't understand math, but because I find T-bars were very comforting to make sure I'm multiplying or dividing in the right way. So Sam, thank you for mentioning that. I always forget that just because it makes sense to me, doesn't mean it necessarily makes sense to everybody off the top of your head. Does that explanation make sense? If it doesn't, please let me know. Does that help? Yes? Cool. So let's go back. Let's go back to our. So Tammy, you said the numbers don't add up. Which numbers don't add up? Tammy.
I think on your worksheet, you're missing the
The
column.
worksheet's gone, so I can't tell you what numbers those are, but you said add the net plus the expenses plus the tax, and I get 161, you get 204.
Hold on, let me go back here so that you all can see my screen.
You have a blank on cost of sales.
Yes, I do have a blank on cost of sales because I'm assuming you all don't have necessarily a cost of sales if you're doing this for somebody else. Does
So
that make
did
sense?
you so where does the
Then
204
the math
come
is-
from?
So I added, what did I add? I could have just added something wrong. 142, or sorry, 42, 857 plus 18,900 plus 100,000. Oh, it is 161. I have no clue to what I had in my calculator that I would have gotten that wrong. Thank you.
No worries.
161.
You had your taxes in twice, which none of us want to do.
Oh, did I? See, Pam? Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I gave, Uncle Sam his fair share plus some more. That's all. So there you go. That's why I did that wrong. Thank you very much. So that is just to show you. And I tell people when I'm teaching a class all the time, I'm a teacher, not an accountant. I can't add. Because I would have never occurred to me those numbers were off if you hadn't said anything, Tammy. So thank you. This is why God made accountants. I'm not that accountant. And I usually have my dad or my accountant follow up on my adding for this very reason. So how do we feel about our GCI? Everybody's good with this number? And we've made room for our taxes. I'm assuming everybody in here is paying taxes quarterly. If you're not, your accountant wants to talk to you because you need to be. So now I want you to ask, I want to ask y'all, because you were in the business all day long. I help people with their sales. What is, or does anybody know off the top of their head what the average sales price of a house is in the Triangle right now? That's a better question for you all than it is for me. Anybody know the average?
With 400,000.
It's 400,000?
I think that's a good number.
Was that for you or is that for the Triangle in general?
Well, the Triangle is multiple counties.
Yeah. I mean, I think 400 is not, it can depend. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're selling, on the outskirts, kind of more Joco kind of Triangle area, then that might be a little bit high. I know if we go into the Triangle MLS, it'll tell you if you pull up just the average sales price. But this is where, so Mike is, I'm going to assume, since he said 400,000, that's the number he wants to put in for himself. Does that make sense?
I would say the average is more like 340.
Yeah. I would have guessed maybe like 320 through to 350, but that depends. If what you do, if Mike is basically selling, inner belt line, something like that, where he's got a higher price, Mike, where do you sell? May I ask where you?
I'm in Cary, but I sell about anywhere. And I use 400 for a round number. I think our median runs about 380 and has for some time. We can pull it down if we go to up above Creedmoor. We have 17 counties in the MLS, and some of them are just not as prosperous. But if you're in Chapel Hill, Durham, Wake County.
So Mike, are you saying I can't get a 3-bedroom, 3.5-bath house for $250,000 in Chapel Hill?
Bring a gun and a machete, because there'll be 32 people there writing offers.
So since January 1 in all of TMLS, everything that's closed, the average for that is like 334. If you do, I'm going to put in just Wake County in case people have their business focus there maybe. Since January 1, that average sold changes to 380. So a big jump if you're focusing on Wake County versus all of TMLS.
Now, again, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Mike, because here's where, when I'm teaching a class, and if everybody's got different backgrounds, for some people, nobody's ever asked you what was your average. For other people, this is a number that you keep on hand. If this is your first time doing something like this, the reason I'm asking the general average as a group is because you just may not know. This may not have been what you were focused on. And you know what? There's a first time for everything. You now know what the average is for the Triangle. If you're selling more in Cary or Chapel Hill, you might want to go with what Mike is saying. I'm hoping that as business owners, you have an idea. And if you don't know this, you can kind of think back off the top of your head. Okay, what was a price? Where was I? Was I more in the $800,000 range? Was I more in the $100,000 range when it came to selling houses? And if you're not quite sure of that number or what you're wanting that to be, then choose the average, go back, do a little homework. Or if you set your goals, go back and, figure it out and redo these numbers. It's awesome. I can tell by what Mike just said. Mike likes numbers.
Candace, I would give you some input that your basic figure of $200,000 anywhere in the triangle, an agent that's averaging that is working themselves to death.
Yeah.
It's just for this presentation today.
Mm-hmm.
That's a low number, and you've got multiple agents here whom we know each other who are working quite a bit higher figure.
Oh yeah, and you can. I just don't ever like to. You are absolutely right, Mike. However, if there is an agent in here, and I know that you all pretty much know each other, I would never want to make somebody feel bad if 200,000 was their
Sure.
average, right?
Well,
So,
I don't say that to make anybody feel bad either.
Yeah.
It's just that would be a very hard average to be profitable at. And I don't aspire to be in the $2 million range. That's a wild goose chase for agents. But gee, even the 350 to 400 is so high here. You have to beat people off of the club to get an offer in.
And that is a conversation when you take a class on the plan part. Once we get to this final number, sometimes what happens when you do this the first time is you go, that's too many houses to sell. I am not trying to sell that many houses. Let's go through and go higher. Like it's one of those, what came first, the chicken or
Sure.
the egg.
Okay.
So yes.
I'm done. Okay.
Oh no, Mike, look, your input is fine.
I'm not going away. I'm just done on this point.
Oh. But Mike, you know what, I love when people are talking and we're chatting. I don't want this ever to be a one-sided thing. So thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and think big, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say 550. Why not? I didn't really think all that big with my final number up at the top, but let's just say I'm thinking not even big, but I'm thinking, I don't want to be running around all day. So I'm going to say my average price is $550,000. And then what is my average commission paid on a deal is going to be my next one. Please, because I can't help it because I teach, I am by no means saying there is a normal, a regular, you all know I'm not trying to break antitrust laws. You know what you tend to get paid off of a deal, a percentage. And I'm not even going to say, I'm just going to stick in there 2.8% because I can.
So Candace, here, does it make sense to kind of average the percentages based on if you know you're buyer heavy or if you know you're listing heavy?
It does.
What should be done here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Sam, let's say you're mostly working with sellers, then go with, maybe you charge, that's more like a 4% for you, right? If you're somebody who's more buyer heavy and you happen to be in Wake County, that could be a 2.4%. Versus if you're more Durham or Chapel Hill, that can be closer to a 2.5 or 3%. For right now, just to start getting these numbers, it's actually where Mike was leading me to and where I like to go back to is once you come up with some basic numbers and you do it the first time, this is going to allow you to tweak. So you might figure out, perhaps I need to be doing more listings, or perhaps I want to think about what is it I'm charging. Make sense? So I'm going to stick 2.8 in there. Oh, wait, 2.8, not there in my calculator. How about that? Where did my calculator go? So, just out of curiosity, what did you all get as an average? If anybody wants to share, I just like people to know that we're all over the place and we all have different numbers. Anybody want to share their number? Look at y'all, competition. Look at y'all. How about a range? Does anybody want to give a range of what you got? It's okay. You don't have to share. It is personal. I'll sit over here and do the math. Hold on. Oh, that's 5 million. Let's not do that. And I'm going to multiply that by 2.8%. So that gives me 15.4. So what we've just figured out is that my average commission per deal is 15.4. All right. So if I'm selling a house that averages for 550, then am I getting an average commission of 2.8%? That means I'm getting about 15.4 per deal. And so when I take that 15.4 and I divide it into my GCI, remember your GCI is that big box up there? That should tell me how many units I need to close, just on average. Right? So I'm going to do that math. And that's not very many for me. Doesn't seem like that way, but I'd be talking about 11 deals. I rounded up 11 closed units. Now, again, I did not go high with how much I was trying to take home. And I'm selling a $550,000 house. Your numbers should not look like my numbers by any means. I mean, well, you know what? They can. I just don't want anybody to think, oh, this is the norm. This is anything. This is about what's on your piece of paper. This gives you how many units in general you're going to have to sell. Is anybody looking at this number that you just did? Please don't look at my 11. I hope you are selling 11 houses per year. But if you're not, we need to have a different conversation. But did anybody look at that number and feel shocked, or are you comfortable with that number? Good. Go ahead, Mike.
Fine.
Your
My
number's fine?
Yeah.
So Mike, here would be what I would say to you if I was coaching. Your number's fine. Would you be willing to throw it up?
I'd be willing to cut my overhead.
Ah,
There's another number that I'm working on. I'm the oldest guy in the room. I'm not here to hit home runs.
And it is okay. One thing I want people to be comfortable with is why we're doing these numbers and what these numbers mean. So if I look at Mike, let's say I did this with Mike and we came up with 11 units, just talking about Mike here, I'd be like, Mike, you and I both know you can do better than 11 units a year. Let's figure out what's going on. Are we not trying to make enough money? Are we having too many expenses, too little expenses? Does everybody see how knowing these numbers just in general is going to be helpful? Now, you could stop right there. You could very well stop right there and let's say, okay, well, basically I'm averaging one house a month. I'm gonna need you all to do better than one house a month. We're gonna break that down. We're gonna break it down using my 11, but we're gonna take it a little bit further to get even more information for your business plan. Right? So if I'm selling 11 houses per month, I'm not 11 houses per month. That'd be great. If I'm selling 11 houses in a year, I want to figure out what my closed volume is, because if you all are doing anything tracking your numbers, which I hope you are, your closed volume is generally a metric that we look at a lot. So I'm going to take that closed units, multiply it by $550,000, and I'm going to get my closed volume would be 6,050,000. Let me write that in. And now I want you to write yours in. Now I want you to stop, put your pencil down. And this is going to sound strange. I want you to stretch. Literally, I want to see your arms up in the air and stretch it out. right? Because we're sitting here, we're doing a lot of math, we're doing that, kind of shake it out a bit. Now look at that number. Is the number that you came up with anything close to what you did in this past year with COVID? I know I said we're not going to, be talking about COVID so much, but all of these numbers, this is a budget. This is an estimate of what we want in the future. And as you do each step, I want you to think, okay, is this about right? Is this too high? Is this too low? Am I going to have to stretch? Is everybody okay with the number you came up with?
Mm-hmm.
How many people in this room have a coach? We got one. What I would suggest now, and I am not saying that because I don't coach all that much individuals. I do business therapy. I don't do coaching anymore, but I would suggest that you have a coach or somebody, even if it's somebody in this group that you can talk to about your goals and numbers. So maybe if Brad sells, South Wake, and Bill sells over in, Durham County, you might want to partner up and just talk about your numbers. Just make sure that you have somebody you're bouncing this off of and say, am I stretching myself enough? Am I not stretching myself enough? Just because you are small business owners doesn't mean you have to do this alone. And the fact that you're part of the Small Brokerage Council, use your connections, right? So this is kind of where we go into what Sam was talking about earlier. What percentage of your business is listings versus what percentage of your business is buyers? And what percentage of your business would you like to have as listings versus what percentage would you like to have buyers? Anybody in here who's more of a buyers person? Your big goal is buyers. Yeah, okay. You got Rebecca and Colleen, you all are buyers. How many of y'all are like list to live? The more listings, the better. Who wants to drive buyers around?
That's not what I want. That's what I got.
Yeah.
That's not what I want. That's what I got.
So Colleen, I would tell you there's a way. That would be what you would work on in the next year. How do I get more listings? Martin, I saw that thumbs down. You're like, I'm not trying to deal with it. Either way, I think just an average good number is 75% listings. You know yourself. And I would suggest that you probably want to put in for your listings at least something higher than 50%, but it's all up to you. If you're a buyer specialist, then there you go. If you really just hate listings, I can't tell you to do listings if you don't want to, but you should have that number. I personally am going to choose 75%.
Yeah, so during COVID this year, I think it really affected our percentages here.
Mm-hmm. And there is, I was actually in a really awesome group that was talking about if you were doing more listings and now COVID and we're short on market, how do we keep those percentages up? How do we make sure that we're getting the closings? How do you affect your conversion rates from turning in offers? So those are all conversations that you want to have with people in your business. But I'm going with 75%, right? So 75% in this case of my 11 closed units would be 8. That means I need to have, if I was using these numbers, I would need to have 8 closed units. 8 closed listing units. If you're somebody with somebody on your team, all of a sudden, 8 sounds a lot more doable than, hey, you need to do $6 million in volume. Like I'm asking you to do 8 listings closed a year. Sometimes how we look at the numbers, remember I said, how you look at things, if you change how you look at things and things change, all of that, breaking it down and saying, you know what, if I'm trying to do 6 million in volume, which, in a year, can I close on 6 listings? Is that getting me 75% of the way to the goal? Much more doable number. For some people look at it and go, this is a challenge. If I've got somebody who's that higher, I'm assuming you all had a class on DISC, correct? Did I see that? Yes. I'm a huge DISC fan. So I'm 99% D&I. which is crazy. But if you're somebody who's more D and you're just more challenged, or a C, you might look at that 6 million and think of it like, hey, I'm going for it. It all just depends on how you want to view it. So our next step is to talk about our conversion rates. Is anybody in here not familiar when I say conversion rates, what I mean? Anybody want to tell me what I mean by a conversion rate then?
I think you've got it on paper, but just the number of listings you take and how many you close, actually.
Well, yeah, conversions can be lots of things. You're want to taking, if you're following your numbers to build your business, you're going to look at a number of different conversion rates. So you have listings that are closed. You're not going to close every single one. What percentage of the listings that you take do you actually get closed? So we convert. You don't usually, for every single person you talk to about listing a house, you don't usually get 100% of those people to list. So there's conversion rates for everything. And in this first case, what we're doing is we're looking at our conversion rate of how many listings were taken versus how many listings we sold. Does that make sense? So what is your conversion rate? I mean, right now, I'm assuming as long as you price something correctly on the market, you should be, 99% of my listings are closing. It depends. Are you doing something more? Are you more of that higher end, like $1 million and above? Not all your listings are going to close. What is your conversion rate? And if you are not tracking this, just shoot me an email and I will get you started on tracking your conversion rates. Because if you would like to make your income go up higher, one of the best things you can do is work on your conversions, whether it's getting them closed once you take it or actually just getting the appointments to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say 80% is what I'm closing. So every time I take a listing, then I'm getting every 80% of them sold. Everybody understand what I'm saying there? Yes? Because I'm pricing my houses correctly. So if I've got, sorry, let me grab some water before I choke. I'm going to turn this off before I start coughing in your ear. Excuse me, one moment. I'm pretty sure I just swallowed a big path of cat hair. I don't know if y'all have pets, but oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Let me cough one more time. I apologize. Y'all don't need to call 911. I'm going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm so sorry. If you don't have pets, you have no idea what that feels like. If you do have pets, you just, I just got a little hair going down the wrong tube. All right. So if I need to close on 8 listings, then I'm going to need to take more. I'm going to need to take more than 8 listings. Does that make sense? This kind of goes back to that math we were talking about before. 8 isn't 100% of what we need. If I'm going to go through and I'm going to close, let's say 75%, then 8 is 75% of what I need. So 8 is 75% of what number? So I'm going to take 8 and I'm going to divide it by 75%. And that means I'm going to need to take 11 listings. My calculator says 10.6666666. I'm going to go ahead and round that up to 11 because I'm closing 75% of the things that I list. that same math is coming back into play. So I really want to make sure we understand it. I'm going to go ahead and put 11 in here. All right. All right. And then we're going to figure out, well, yes, that's great. I need to take 11 listings, but how many, and this is the big conversion rate, how many listing appointments do I need to go on to get 11 listings? And this is also another business conversation that you can have. Where is your business coming from? If the majority of your business is coming from referrals, then getting that appointment, that conversion rate number up is a lot higher than if you're paying for Zillow leads or any type of lead. There are ways to increase your conversion rates. And once you know these numbers, yes, it can take an effect on your whole business, but you can also figure out as a business owner, what can I tweak to make this look better? So if you're looking at a 50% conversion rate, I'm taking 50% of the listings. When I go on a listing appointment, I have a 50-50 chance of getting it to be something I actually get to list. Then now you get to look at your business. So sorry. Now you get to look at your business and say, what can I do to increase that conversion? It's more than just once you do these numbers, I'm hoping that you look at this as more than just, I need to sell more houses. There are other ways to look at increasing your numbers, to increase your revenue and to increase your net. Right? So in this case, I'm going to say I'm a rock star. Now I'm going to go with the low number. Let's just say I'm converting only 40% of the listings I'm going on. I obviously need some help and some training. All right. So if I'm converting 40%, then I'm saying 11 is 40% of what number? How many listing appointments do I need to go on if I'm only going to convert 40% of them to actual listings that I'm taking? So for that, I'm going to take the 11. I'm going to divide it by 40%. And that gives me 27 listing appointments. All right. I'm going to need to go on 27 listing appointments in order to get 11 appointments. 11 listings, I should say. And if you want, you can take this. We're not doing it on this sheet, but that can break down even further as a business when you look at your business. All right, 27 listing appointments held every year. That means I need to average 2 or 3 listing appointments every single month, which is doable. 27 listing appointments in a year, when you break that down to 2 or 3 a month, seems quite reasonable, depending on your numbers, depending on your conversion rates. You might look at this and go, hey, I'm in a great place. Or you might look at this and say, I need to start reconsidering how I'm doing business. Because this is not supposed to be something that's killing you. This is supposed to be something that's helping you support your life. Your job, your business should be not something you wake up hating every morning. So does that make sense? Everything we've done so far with our you know what I'm trying to say? Yes. Then you're going to go through and you would do the same thing for your buyers. Does that make sense? Yes. So I know I'm out of time because we only had it for an hour and a half. I am correct. Yes. I timed this right. So I want to make sure that you all are okay with these numbers. I apologize that I did not get all the way through, and I'm okay going forward. But
Kandyce,
you would be
we were
doing.
scheduled till 11:30.
I'm scheduled to 11:30.
Yep, 2 hours.
Yay! I thought the thing I got said until 11. So then let's go ahead and do it. Is everybody okay? Did anybody? I might have just been reading the wrong thing. Everybody's good till 11. All right, 11:30. All right, so let's do your buyers. If I was going to take 8 listings closed or 8 closed listings and I needed 11 closed units, then what I'm going to need to do is then get at least 3 closed buyers. So you don't need to know, you don't need to have me go through each and every single one. I want everybody to take about 5 minutes and figure out the last of your numbers for the buyers, because I do want to have a conversation about this, unless you've already done it. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to do this math. I'll talk myself through it. You all don't, no need for you all to respond, but I want you to do the same thing that we did with listings, but for your buyers. And I want you to make sure that the math makes sense to you. If I was not here and saying, okay, do this, do this, do this, would it make sense if you had to do this again? I'm going to go through. When you have your final numbers, just let me know. Give me a thumbs up. When you have your final buyer appointments held number, let me know, because then we'll talk about your final number that's in the yellow box. I haven't seen a thumbs up yet. We're still doing. Yay, we got one thumb. Excuse me. Is anybody stuck? Phyllis, Pram, Martin, Sandra, anybody I'm not seeing? Anybody stuck? Need help? Thumbs up from Brad. Thank you very much, Brad. Charlotte, you're good. You have a number? You don't have to share that number. You don't have to share it. I just want to make sure you have a number. Mark, you good? Or are you still calculating? All right. So everybody has these numbers. I'm going to assume, since nobody said stop, everybody has these numbers. And I did, for this last final step, what I've done is I've taken my buyer appointments. I assumed that in this multiple offer situation, I had terrible conversion rates to getting buyers closed. So I'm taking that 16 buyer appointments that I need a year. I'm taking that 27 listing appointments that I need a year, and I'm dividing that by 48, because we're going to assume that you're working 48 weeks out of the year. Now, let's be honest. When you're in sales, y'all are probably working 52 weeks out of the year. But let's pretend you gave yourself a vacation. Let's just, for funsies. Pretend you actually went ahead and said, okay, I'm going to go through and not work, at least a week or so. That gives you how many appointments you need a week. And with that number, now you can go through and you can start to build on your plan and your objectives. Does this make sense to everybody? Yes? Now that you've done this, first of all, question, if you had to do this alone without, so if this was 2 months from now, you're like, where is that darn sheet Kandyce gave me? Would you be able to replicate these numbers? Replicate doing the math again? And could you explain to somebody why you're doing the math and why it's important? That's my first thing. My first goal is making sure you understand why we're doing what we're doing. So we're all good on that one? Thank you, Pam. I appreciate. Then do me a favor, open up your calendar and set a year from now a plan to do this for 2022. Now, again, an hour and a half, or so 2 hours this time, I would probably go ahead and give myself a full day of business planning. This is the quick and the dirty. Open up your calendars and put in a year from today. So that's going to be October 21st, 2021. Spend a day pulling your own numbers, because this is the first step to creating that business plan. So the next thing I would tell you to do is go back up to the top of your sheet. Now that I've looked at this, I would have done all of my numbers and said, well, you know what, Kandyce, at the end of all of this, I'm saying I need 1 appointment a week. I don't feel like that I'm challenging myself like that. Having said that, you know what? That's just my life. If I had 3 kids and I was a single parent, you know what? 1 appointment a week at a 550 range, that might be what my life needs. And you're going to sit down and say, okay, well, maybe I can net more than this, or maybe I can't. That could be my new goal. I could do this and say, I could do another sheet and say, this is my has to happen. And then I could do another one of these sheets and I could say, this is my dream. If my dream was to net $250,000, I could take these same numbers or take the same sheet, change that to 250 and refigure out my numbers. And that will give me an idea of where my goal is. That would tell me, hey, if I'm doing 3 or 4 appointments a week, I should be able to hit that $250,000 goal. One of the things that Mike said earlier is, take a look at your operating expenses. Are there ways to bring down your operating expenses? So when I did my number of 18,000, I said, I'm going through and I'm paying for WeWork. Maybe that's something you need to cut out. Every single line in here is an opportunity and a way to improve your business. So I know earlier this year, you all had a finances guy come out. He would be able to help you. Somebody like an accountant would be able to help you on how to get down your expenses. How do I say, you know what, I'm able to not look at a 30% tax rate, but I know in past years I've gotten that down to 20 or maybe 25%. The best way to use these numbers is how to improve. So the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is looking at this sheet, which one of these entries is something that you can put as part of your plan, as part of your marketing plan, something to improve on. Is it your conversion rate? Is it your net? Is it your expenses? Choose something that you feel you could improve on. Because I want for you all, I'm hoping the goal is not just to throw spaghetti on the wall and do one closing to the next closing to the next closing. By picking one of these things to focus on, that can really help you line up your business plan. Maybe this year I want to spend less on X. Maybe this year I want to educate myself, take some classes, get a little better at negotiating, getting a higher, rate. Maybe I'm working on my brand. Maybe I'm working on making a higher average sales price. All of these things are part of your business plan. And maybe Pam looks at this and she says, you know what, I really want to up my business, my average sales price. How do I go about doing that? And that's where she would look at her 411 and break it down, or sorry, her 135 and break it down. Okay, what are my 3 strategies to getting a higher sales price? Which is why I included that 135 sheet in there for you. Doing your numbers is just a starting point. So I was actually doing this with somebody, and this was like, I sat down and I did these numbers. Let's say that, maybe Sandra's part of my team and this is what we came up with. I would say, you know what, I really want to stretch you, Sandra. Let's talk about what it is we can do to get your listing conversion rate up higher. Let's come up with a plan for bettering ourselves. But it's something that you get to choose where you want to do. Does this make sense? Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. I like the positive feedback. I like it. Is this something you'll be able to implement if you want to go back and figure out how much it costs you to do per sale? Is there something here that you'll be able to change? Now, again, you don't have to share your numbers. Is anybody willing to talk about what they want to focus on after looking at these numbers, something they want to focus on improving for 2021?
I really realized I want my average sale price to go up. I don't want to work so hard. I got a lot of houses to sell.
You got a lot of houses to sell.
And I got a lot of houses to sell.
Right. And so now that you know that, you can say, okay, how do I get that average price up? Is this going to be a change in your marketing? Is it going to be, how does that look? What does that look like? And that's the beginning.
I need more friends. I need new friends.
More friends. Sam, you have awesome friends already. So, anybody else? Thank you, Sam, for sharing. And I'm so sorry. My voice is now kind of crackly. Anybody else looking at this and seeing a path for where they can take their business in 2021? All right, Shirley, I see you nodding. You want to talk to us about it? You don't have to. She's like, no, I'm not trying to share this detail with my competitors. No, they on their own.
No, I don't look at it as being competitors. Trust me, I'm not. No, yeah, right. I'm at the bottom of this competition. But, it's just some things that are just a little more clearer to me that I really need to change my focus and to really dig my heels in and just work harder, smarter, and not so much harder. And like Sam, I too need to get my new friends so that I don't have to work as hard as well.
Look, you don't need new friends. You just need more rich friends. That's all. That is all. I really, my goal in doing this was making sure that every one of you could walk away with a starting point and building that business plan. And I'm just going to go away for the screen for a moment, back to the slides. We looked at the numbers, and I'm going to go backwards here. Boop, 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 boop. Remember, these numbers are only part of your business plan. But starting with these numbers can give you your goals and your objectives. It does not have to be. This does not have to be your whole, and get back to it, this Zillow version of 25 points. I am not saying that it's not important. When you do an actual business plan, something the MBA person is going to be like, oh my goodness, I could present this. I have an executive summary. I have a company description. All of this is going to come into play, but these numbers are also going to help you. If you had to give that 5-minute elevator pitch, what separates you from the other person? Why should somebody hire you and not, somebody else? So no offense, again, it is a competition, but it isn't. By looking at these numbers and realizing what you want to do, it should help you write your vision statement, your mission statement. Make sure that whatever you're doing is still fitting within who you are as a business. All right. So with any other questions, anything else there?
So Candyce, it's Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, I just tried that link in there a couple times, and it's still it's not opening up on my
the link in the
my
drive.
device.
Okay,
Yeah.
Brad, if you will give me your email, and I will personally email it to you, but I'm also going to have Sonia email it out as a group. I just want to make sure that you get it. So if you give me your email address, if you want to drop that in there, or private email me, I will make sure that I send that out to you personally.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, you're very welcome. I want, my goal is only here to be helpful.
This is really great. I've got some folks that I can share this with too. So.
Share away. Please share away. Just remember, don't go through and say Kandyce wrote a 411. Kandyce did not write that 411.
No, I don't. I don't mean share your handout. I'm talking about I can go through this with some people that I'm working with that could really benefit from this.
Oh, you definitely can. Again, please share. You can share this handout. None of this is proprietary to just me. Go ahead and share it. I want people to feel comfortable with their numbers. I just don't want you to tell them that I was a genius that came up with it. I am not the genius that came up with this. Somebody taught it to me, and now I'm sharing it with you. Right? So please, I would love, there would be nothing that'll make me happier, Brad, than if you email me a couple weeks from now and you're like, hey, Kandyce, I sat down with some team members or coworkers, people I know, and we did this, and I was able to understand the numbers and make changes. Literally, as corny as it sounds, that's why I do what I do.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So I'm going to tell you all as I end this and wrap this up, because I'm like, we do what we have to do. I know y'all have things to do. The best business plan is the one that you use. I started this with giving you permission to run your business the way that you need to run it. Make changes to your numbers, to your goals, and to your objectives, and hopefully just break it down to a point where it's not intimidating. Business planning doesn't have to be boring and terrible. It may not be your favorite thing, but it's an opportunity. Find the system that works so that you use it so that you can move forward. Right? And then the very, very last thing I'm going to give you as a walk away, which is one of my favorite quotes that literally changed my life, which is, what am I pretending not to know? What am I pretending not to know? So are you pretending to, you all are here, but before this moment, were you pretending not to know that you needed to do a business plan? Are you pretending not to know that you need to go clean up your office? Are you pretending not to know, I'm still am, that I need to maybe update my registration on my car because I'm riding dirty? I need to take care of that right now. Like, what are you pretending not to know? Because I'm telling you, reality, responsibility, and accountability are going to come back and bite you in the butt. Stop pretending not to know it and that you have to do it, and just do it and get it out the way. Set some time aside every year to do this business planning at the very least. Take time, look at those numbers. And, I encourage you to work with a coach, a business therapist, somebody to improve your businesses. We are trying to work smarter, not harder. And that means taking a moment outside of just the doing business and stop working in your business and start working on your business. That makes sense? Yes? All right, well then I'm good. This is what I wanted to accomplish, and I have 14 extra minutes, so yay me. Sometimes I like to finish a little early. Sometimes I like to go over. Was this helpful to you all?
Yes, thank you so much, Kandyce. It was very eye-opening, and you really simplified things that tend to be kind of confusing for all of us, I think.
Good, that's what my goal was. Was there any other questions that you had just in general? I mean, that I can answer about anything?
Your contact information?
Yeah, I might want to give that to you. Let me put, I'm terrible at that part. Let me put it into the chat. I know my email, I do. It's Kandyce at KandyceEllis.com. I will give you my cell phone number. However, you should know I have it. Thanks to the election on, all numbers I don't know go straight to voicemail. Thanks, election. But if you text me and just go, hey, Kandyce, this is so-and-so from the class you held, I will answer. Now, I will say I usually teach about 6 days a week. So if I don't reach you right away, feel free to reach back out to me, because sometimes I'll get a text in class and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I need to text that person when I finish teaching, and I completely forget. Brad, I have not forgotten you. I will, as soon as this is over, email you personally, but also give the documents to Sonia to pass out. So that is my text number. Anything else, you're welcome to offer, ask, question away. I'm here to help, and I really want to be a resource for you all.
Thank you, Kandyce. We all appreciated it very much.
Oh, you are so very welcome. I love sharing knowledge. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what I know. I love it. So that just makes me happy. Yay.
Anybody have any closing remarks for Kandyce?
I'll stay on just in case somebody wants to add something, but I mean, if you've walked away learning something, then my job here is done.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, you all have great days. Go enjoy this wonderful 78, 80 degree weather while we have it, because soon it's going to be like 45 and I'm going to be bitter. Talking about when's summer coming, when I literally about 2 weeks was going, I'm ready for winter. So go sell some houses. Go find some buyers, or better yet, go work on your businesses. Working in your business and working on your business. I'm telling you, it's the best thing you can do.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So Sonia, if you want to stay with me for a moment, and I'll make sure I sign that for you and get you that form.
Yeah, just send that. I sent it to your email. Just send that back, and the handouts, and I will email them out to the class, and I'll let you know when we get it up on the website.
Yay! I hope this is what you were looking for. So,
well, it's up to the small brokers. I'm just the admin. I do But I have to say, after listening to this, I've decided you and I are going to be best friends because I thought you did a fabulous job. I love your presentation. I love your demeanor and your positive attitude.
Oh, well, thank you. Look, I love having positive friends. So come on, bring it. As long, and then we can have, I'm still one of these days, I'm going to do a women's only session and it's going to be no bras allowed. It's going to happen.
I don't know.
Hey, it's just going to be comfy. That's all. I mean, I've been in classes where I've just been like, they want you even in the class, even via Zoom, to like put on a suit and everybody. I'm like, I am at home. I am trying to be comfortable. What you talking about? So, all right. Well, I think there's not any more questions. I will send this to you right now. I will, like I said, I will personally email Brad, but then I will also sign that. I'll do it electronically, sign that, send it to you. And if you need need anything, thank you, first of all, for taking care of all the back end stuff. Don't say I am just an admin. I'm a firm believer that without admins, none of us would be getting anywhere. So you are not just an admin. They can't do it without you.
Well, thank you. I have to say, this was the quietest group I have ever seen on a Zoom in my life.
I know. I was like, are they? I'm like, I don't. Is it me?
I don't know. They didn't use their chat. They didn't. Yeah. Wow.
I was like, well, I hope I'm not boring them. So I don't know.
They were just in serious thought.
Good. I'm hoping that is the case. So, yeah, because I get a little bit more interaction, but it was also numbers. So,
like I said, I think they were just like, oh my God, the number on the page. So,
and even though you are not just an admin, give yourself permission to do some of those things that are on that list too.
Oh, yeah, I'm very liberal with myself. No worries. And while I may have on a top, I can promise you I do not have on shoes. I do have on sweatpants below this, and the dog is sitting beside me.
Oh, good. That is where, sorry, I had to choke. Feel free to take out that part where I'm choking on cat hair. I'm like, of course, I'm being recorded. It was like a ball of cat hair was like, you're dying. So,
I so badly wanted to send you coughing cats, but fur balls, but I was like, I can't do that. This group is not open to that.
I started off this whole thing saying, this is about life. Life happens. So I was like, well, I'm choking on cat hair.
Invited it in. There you go.
Well, if there's anything I can ever do for you, please just reach out to me. And thank you. I mean, you make this so easy to just be able to teach. So thank you so much.
I will ask you a question then while I've got you, if you don't mind. And that is, we're always looking for speakers and because I'm a liaison to quite a few different groups at the RRAR, and I'm the membership manager too. And so I'm always, if you know of other speakers that you think realtors need to hear from, or topics that you're like, oh my God, if they do not learn this soon, let
You're
us.
asking an educator that? That's everything. I'm like, I'm gonna need everybody to do better on everything.
It's probably our biggest complaint is that realtors don't read, and
go ahead and tell everybody there, try teaching pre and post licensing. I'm like,
nope. There's a reason we don't do that.
Yeah. So literally, and I think you'll find this funny, I have a class that they're testing now. And on Monday we had a review session, and I literally had a student and was like, I don't understand this question. It's saying something about this VA home and it didn't appraise. What does that mean? And it took everything in my soul to be like, it means you're not passing this test. That's what this means. If it is literally 2 days before the exam and you don't know what the phrase "it does not appraise" mean, you're out. You're done. So
we've been having a lot of discussions lately about the DPA box on the offer to purchase, and how from the diversity committee, we're believing that it's discriminatory. because as soon as a seller sees that the DPA box, down payment assistance has been checked, they go, nope, not working with them. And
there's so many things. I wish that, I wish that somebody would do a fun, and I guess it should be up to me, but do a fun version of the offer to purchase and contract. I realize that it comes out every July, but the number of agents that don't know what that stinking thing says scares me.
Well, that's a great one because we're trying to up our video library, and that's something we've not had in the past. And that might be a great one. I'm going to pass that along to our communication team that they can contact you about.
Yeah, you can see. So there's, do you know who Chris Barnett is as a teacher? So Chris and I were great friends. We did a video on the last offer to purchase and contract for our pre-licensing students. Since this was not a really huge update for pre or post, we didn't update it. But if you just look up Kandyce Ellis on YouTube, you'll see I have a host of videos, and you'll see one on the offer to purchase and contract. So, I mean, yeah, it scares me how many people don't know what happens on the offer to purchase and contract. I'm like, what? Y'all, I'm gonna need you to know what an assessment is and who needs to pay it. That's costing your clients a lot of money. So,
hey, we're still just trying to get them to understand that the association and the commission are two different things. So,
Lord, shit, yeah. And if you all ever need, this is what I do full time, is I just teach and train. So if you all ever need, as long as you give me enough time, if somebody gets sick, you're like, we need somebody to teach the ethics, or you need me to jump in. I love doing it. Call me and be like, Kandyce, it's an emergency. I'll be like, I'm there. So feel free.
Yeah, you also teach at home with diversity, I heard.
I do. I teach at home with diversity. I'm getting ready to do the green designation. There's a whole bunch of these that I'm going to start teaching soon. I do the negotiating specialist. I do the listing specialist. There's a number of different things that I teach. So
just make sure Cara knows all that, Cara and Mary Rachel.
Yeah, well, I'm in the leadership academy right now.
That's what I'm saying. Just make sure that they know the extent of the list that you teach.
I think I will mention that to them. So yes, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. So if people are looking for seriousness, then I'm probably not the instructor. But if they're looking for fun, I try to do fun.
I think that goes over better, quite honestly. We recently did the At Home with Diversity course.
How did it go?
We had 95 students.
Nice.
Yes, we did. And they were from all over the state. They weren't all RRAR members. And it went so well. They got so excited on this. They created their own Facebook page. And it's diverse realtors making a difference. So because they all wanted to stay in touch and be talking about the issues. So that was a good class.
Yeah, I love teaching I love teaching the fair housing portion, and I'm able to teach the At Home with Diversity because it's such a huge, you have to be like, there's the fun, but you have to have a level of openness with the class. Otherwise it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming that you all have seen the Long Island Divided.
Yeah. We got to remember, Tessa was our CEO before she went to Long Island. Yeah, and we recently just did, and that's in our video library, a Fair Housing and Fair Lending seminar, talking about some of that. And we're trying right now to get our next one is the Sheba report. State of Housing in Black America. It comes out this week. Their conference, the NAREB conference, is next Tuesday. And so once that comes out, we're trying to get Donnell, the national president, to come and talk with us about that.
Yes, so that would be put that everywhere, because I would be all about that. There are great classes that are offered by the commission, but I'll tell you, like, from a teacher point of view, what I've been focusing on is this new law change that says students pre-licensing students can now take completely asynchronous pre-licensing. and post licensing. You can have a student who's literally a real estate agent and not sat in front of a single person in class. And that scares me. That
we're hoping that's all temporary.
No, that the online is not going away. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. So I've put together some stuff to help these new agents that are doing it virtually that they can take, because can you imagine having an agent who, I mean, literally we're going to have people who took it virtually virtually post, and then be helping buyers and sellers. And especially with COVID, they may have never been in person talking about, been able to ask a single person questions. Being able to pass that test is minimal competency. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily ready. And I don't know if the commission or the Association of Realtors here, but I don't even know what that's going to look like for people. Like that's ugly.
And that's one of those that the association probably could not get involved in, because that is clearly just a commission licensing.
Oh, it's going to be, you know, I think it's going to end up being training. I think that all of a sudden new agent training and just offering the things that the association is going to be able to offer new agents, all of a sudden is going to become so important, because some of these agents, you know, I mean, nothing against the small brokerages, but if you have a small 1 or 2 person office and they get this person that's never had an in-class live, do they have the they don't even know what they don't know.
And they may not even have a great, you know, their BIC may not know it all. So
yeah, so training, I think training, and that's my prediction, is that since this asynchronous, as far as the commission is concerned, is not going away, I think training even more so in the future is going to be huge, because they need it. They didn't.
That's good. That's a good thought right there. That tells me a little bit of what I need to start thinking about for the year ahead.
Yeah, I mean, feel free. Look, this is what, like I said, this is what I do. You can bounce ideas or ask me what, I mean, like all sorts of things. So, because like one of the things I'm doing, just so you know, is one of the biggest questions I get from pre and post, or even people I'm talking to, is, you know, how do I know what firm to go to? So I'm working on a project for pre that's there, you know, whatever. But after I finish that, I'm doing a project where I'm meeting with different, kind of like we're doing right here, except you're the BIC of, let's say you're the BIC of Better Homes and Gardens. And I just ask you some questions. Like if somebody is wanting, you're thinking about joining your firm, tell me about what you offer. Tell me about what your firm is like. Tell me what your culture is like. Not necessarily what about the numbers, but that way people can meet and learn about different firms without having to be face-to-face in COVID, and have an idea and understand every firm is different. Like I think it'll make the BIC step up their game and know what it is that they offer. So
I can believe it.
Yeah, well, I just love doing stuff like that.
I process new member applications every single day. And I can tell you, if you're a brand new agent, you're going with EXP.
And you know what scares me is, how did you tell me how that EXP BIC is answering all those questions?
I mean, I know their numbers backwards and forwards because I process every single day, and I'm like, oh.
Like EXP, like I understand that agents think I don't have to pay anything, you know, like it's such a low fee. And I know they say they have the virtual training, but it scares me. And it's not a bad, I mean, I don't think EXP is a bad company. I think people choose the company based on the numbers, not knowing what they're missing out on. And that's literally one of the exact reasons why I was like, I have to put this video series together, because I need people to understand it's not just about the low cost. When it goes wrong, are you going to be able to reach that BIC? Because I would never be a BIC to like 400 people. You have lost your mind. You can't pay me enough money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a lot.
I know. Ooh, I know. You see it. So what classes are you going to teach one day?
Oh, I know nothing about this.
What you do know is organization, though.
I do know that. And I know communications and marketing, but you know.
I think you could come up with a class, how to organize. You probably know more about how a new agent needs to just like stop and get stuff done than you realize?
I probably do. I hope so. I'm actually new to this role because did continuing education for the last 12 years.
Mhm.
I was Cara's sidekick. And
Ah.
so they recently said, okay, Sonia, we need somebody to do RRAR membership. So I took it over. So I'm learning. And that's why I'm thinking in my brain now, what needs to happen for these new agents coming in the future? How can we change it, the association, to streamline it, to make it easier for them to see that progression, which of hoops they have to jump through, because it's confusing. They get, once they have done pre and post licensing, and now they've paid tons of money, you know, like you said, RRAR is $546 a year,
Mhm.
Plus a $300 application fee. Then they got TMLS on top of that. And oh my God, they've got all these orientations to take, and they are so confused.
So here's what I tell new, because I have been in the past, I have done every role at Keller Williams except for own one. And I've worked for other companies. So, and you know how many people Keller Williams gets on like I did the onboarding. So, and then when I was doing their coaching, here's what I would tell new agents, just helpful, is I don't care what your company said, what anybody said, anything like that. The first thing you need to do, sorry, that light was just bright in my face, had my ring light on. The first thing that you need to do is figure out how to real estate. I don't care about you going out to get business. If you don't know how to be in the MLS, if you don't know how to fill out an offer to purchase and contract, and you can't explain agency, you know, you don't have it, not even agency, you don't have a business email address and know how to do the DocuSign, how to get to the forms, whatever your company is, you have nothing else to talk about. Like those, and it's so scary because I get it, like, especially at Keller, not to talk badly about them, but they're like, take all these classes. No, don't take all these classes. Can you TMLS for real? And what I mean is, like, did you take the training and can you do a search? Can you help people? No? Then get your butt in a class. Can you fill out an offer to purchase and contract, an agency agreement, and a, whatever? No? Then you need to figure it out. Do you know how to get access to all these things? No? Because if no matter what company you're at, if you can't do those three things, you're stuck. And that means TMLS, that means making sure you've gotten your big, like those are the 3 steps. And I think because when you're a new agent, they get the emails like build your business, get more leads, buy Zillow, take this, block it out and just get to the business of real estating.
That's great. That is great. You'd be amazed at how many people I call back and their voicemails are full. And I'm like, how can you have a full, how can you do business?
I would, if you decide you want something on that like that, I would be glad to do a video on that just says, because I guess officially I'm with a Keller, because here's what you could change for me. I want access to the MLS as an instructor without having to be attached to a company, because I don't sell anymore. I have no desire to sell, but when I'm doing a CMA class, I have to have access to the MLS. Does that make sense? And I'm like, but I don't want to pay $1,500 to build my own company. I just want access to teach.
I'm going to ask them that question because I think you can be, Do
you get what I'm saying? Like I want to be.
You can be an unaffiliated broker is what
but you still have to pay that $1,500, like, as far as I looked up, I'd have to pay like a $1,500 like firm, like you have to have something. But either way, I mean, like I would, my goal is to be unaffiliated to any company. I never want any, I kind of want to feel like RRAR or TMLS. Like I want people to know I'm going to tell them the truth, and it's never about, never about recruiting or a company. Like there should, and as other teachers that feel the same way, they're like, well, I'm not an RRAR member. I'm not TMLS because I don't want to pay that money. Like, I don't mind paying the quarterly, but they are like, you just get put into a weird box when you're teaching. But that's beside the point. But that's my goal is
I want
to be a thing
to the TMLS. I mean, these are issues they need to know about, especially when they're talking about, memberships and billing for the year ahead.
Yeah, it would be great. Like if they had something, if somebody can prove that they are teaching you know, where that's what they're doing. And you could make it, I mean, it's an internet program. Make it so that I can't do a listing. I don't care. I'm not trying to do a listing. Trust me, I don't want to do a listing. You take it away. I don't want it. But when I'm doing a class on CMAs, or even when I'm teaching pre-licensing, my favorite thing to do is pull up an MLS form and show them. This is where it shows you commission to sub-agent. This is where you can see the tax amount. So as a good teacher, you want access, but I'm also like, but I'm not trying to list the house. You good. Thanks anyway. But yeah, like anything like that, I would love to make videos. Anything to help the business become better. That's my goal. All right. Well, I know you have work to do. I think we are going to become good friends here because you just have a great energy too.
Great. Thanks.